Hello everyone, welcome back to your channel Journey to Success. In this video, we are going to cover foundations of ESG. What is ESG? We are going to cover what is ESG, and the second part is what is the importance of ESG in finance. Apart from that, we are going to know what is the evolution of ESG investing. So starting with our basic concept, that is what is ESG. Basically, ESG stands for environmental, social and governance. So the full form or the acronym ESG describes environmental, social and governance. ESG is a set of criteria which is used by investors and other stakeholders to evaluate a company's impact beyond just financial performance. A company is not just judged by its financial performance. Apart from the financial performance, there are various other factors that are being judged to evaluate the company's impact. One of those factors is ESG, which is a very broad concept covering these three aspects. Number one is environmental, second is social, and third one is governance. So talking about environmental, E stands for environmental, and these are some of the aspects which are covered in environmental. Environmental means climate change and mitigation, resources efficiency, biodiversity preservation, and pollution prevention. If I talk about climate change mitigation, can include carbon emission reduction strategies. There are various strategies which are being followed by the companies to reduce the climate to reduce their impact on the climate by reducing their carbon emissions. Apart from that, companies which are using renewable energy, efficiency energy initiatives, climate risk assessments. A company needs to evaluate their assessments regularly, that what impact they are giving to the climate. Second aspect of the environmental is the resource efficiency. How efficiently the companies are using their resources. That could include the environmental conservation efforts, waste management practices, sustainable sourcing of raw materials. Sustainable sources of raw material is very important. Next one is the biodiversity preservation. Biodiversity preservation means conservation efforts, protection of natural habitats, sustainable land use practices. Other things which could be covered in the environmental effects are pollution prevention. Companies should always try to minimize their pollution and should adopt for the pollution control measures, be it the air pollution or the water pollution. They should use hazardous water management techniques. They should avoid these techniques and they should manage their waste properly. They should continuously monitor and report their pollution. So these are some of the aspects which are being covered in the environmental aspect. Second, moving on to the social aspect. What are the things companies need to consider in their social aspect? It should be the labor practices, human rights, community engagement, customer relations, and employee relations. If I talk about the labor practices means fair wages and benefits to the labor workers, occupational health and safety standards that a company is opting in their operational services, diversity and inclusion policies. So diversity and inclusion is a part of social aspect. When I talk about human rights, it means respect for every human in the supply chain, no discrimination policies, and there should be prevention of the forced labor and the child labor. Community engagement means community development initiatives, philanthropic and charitable activities, stakeholder engagement processes. Customer relation means product safety and quality standards should be maintained and the data of the customer consumer means privacy protection should be there. Ethical marketing practices should be adopted. And if I talk about the employee relation, one of the major aspects of the employee relation is the work-life balance. Every individual has a right to work-life balance, so there should be proper policies which ensure that there is a work-life balance of the employee. Employee training and development should be there so that employee can learn and grow in his career. There should be a mechanism for the conflict resolution as well as the grievances. So if we talk about the E, that is environmental, and if we talk about the S aspect, that is social, covering the labor practices, human rights, community engagement, customer relation and the employee relations. Talking about the G, that is governance. Governance can include the corporate governance, ethical business practices, risk management, executive compensation. Executive compensation is a part of governance, and audit and control. Corporate governance means what is the structure of the board and independence, transparency and disclosure practices, shareholder rights and activism. Ethical business practices means the policies should be anti-corruption, there should be compliance with the laws and regulations, and there should be proper mechanisms for the whistleblower protections. In the risk management, there should be identification and mitigation of the operational risks. Financial risk management strategies should be adopted. Crisis management and business continuity planning should be there. And for the executive compensation, that should be aligned with the ESG goals and the company's performance. There should be transparency when the payment is made to the executives, and there should be avoidance of the excessive compensation, because we have seen various scenarios where there is excessive compensation paid to the executive class and there is a lot of discrimination done with the labor class. If I talk about the audit control, there should be independent audit oversight, internal control systems, risk assessment and monitoring process. So we have learned the basic foundations of ESG, in which we have covered the E aspect, that is environmental, S aspect, that is social, and the G aspect, that is governance, and the basic about that. Now moving further regarding the evolution of ESG investing, how there is evolution of ESG and how the ESG concept came into existence. So there are various origins of ESG and it has evolved. There is a lot of evolution of ESG over time. So talking about the origins of ESG investing, so it has the roots from the SRI. What is SRI? SRI is socially responsible investing. SRI is socially responsible investing. So there were various ethical investing movements, including religious and ethical considerations in the investment decisions. From that, the ESG concept evolved. So there is emergence of various value-based investing. So from that, ESG came into the mainstream investing strategies. That's why there is a growing awareness of sustainability issues and investor demand for responsible investment options. What are the regulatory drivers? There are various regulatory drivers due to which ESG investing is very important. There are various standards which companies has to follow for disclosure, reporting and their fiduciary duties regarding the ESG. What is their impact? So they influence the regulatory requirements on corporate behavior and investor decision making, including mandatory ESG reporting and disclosure mandates. So it is mandatory for the companies to report their ESG and the disclosure is also mandatory. There are various legal obligations which are imposed on the companies and the investors related to the ESG considerations, such as various fiduciary duties to consider long-term sustainability factors and the incorporation of ESG criteria into the investment decision making process. Now talking about our main concept, what is the importance of ESG in finance? Why ESG is important in finance? Number one, for the risk management. Number second, for the long-term value creation. And number third is for the market demand. These are the main three criteria due to which ESG is very important. Why for the risk management? Because financial risk and materiality assessment plays a very important role. So ESG factors can serve as an indicator that whether the company is long-term able to meet the financial risks and including all the types of risk, whether it's the regulatory risk, reputational risk or the operational risk, and understanding the materiality of ESG issues. So you can invest upon a company looking at the risk management strategies and the ESG strategies. So ESG provides you sustainable business models which have good relationship with the investors and the society. Stakeholder alignment. Analyzing how ESG considerations align with the interest of various stakeholders, you can judge a company. You can also know the investor preferences and market response, because examining the growing demand of ESG investments along with institutional and retail investors. Assessing how financial markets have responded to the increasing emphasis of the ESG factors in investment decision making. What is the framework of ESG analysis? How we can analyze the ESG of a company? There are various frameworks that help us to analyze the ESG. Some of the framework that I have mentioned is GRI. GRI stands for Global Reporting Initiative. What is SASB? That is Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. SASB is Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. And TCFD is Task Force on Climate Related Financial Disclosures. These are basic concepts. So what is GRI? I'll give you the overview of GRI. GRI has basic principles and guidelines for sustainable reporting. These are the some of the guidelines developed by Global Reporting Initiative. So they explore how companies use GRI standards to report their ESG performance. Okay, if I talk about SASB, SASB Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. So they provide sector specific matrices. So they analyze industry to industry, they provide industry specific standards and assessing the usefulness of SASB standards in informing investment decisions and corporate performance evaluation. So talking about task force on climate related financial disclosures, there should be climate risk disclosure, and if there are challenges and opportunities associated with adopting TCFD recommendations, that should be considered into evaluation. So there are various recommendations which are given by task force on climate related financial disclosures. The company should try to follow these recommendations. So these are some of the basics. So in this video we have covered the basics, foundations of ESG, covering the full form. Then we have seen a bit of the evolution of ESG. Then we have seen what is the importance of ESG in finance, and then we have seen some of the frameworks of ESG for the analysis. In the next video, we are going to cover ESG matrices and the measurement. Meet you in the next video. If you like the channel, don't forget to like, share and subscribe.